two-page message which was signed by Quetzal, who happened to be the Palladian commander who was in contact with Billy Myers. The information in this document was so astounding because you'd have to be living with me to have some of that. It just blew me away. We were invited back into their so-called compound over there. Now, Billy doesn't have any heat at that time in his house. And anyway, for the next week, they answered all the questions I have, opened up a lot more questions that I had, set up everything. Anyway, I said, look, I'm going to agree, and I made an agreement with the extraterrestrials and Billy at that time, to publish their information that they had to get out to the world. And I put it, whatever was necessary, except for I had a problem. Billy had given away the worldwide rights to his story to Lee. I says, I have no problem about that. We'll fly back, and my attorneys in Beverly Hills happen to be Durham Mason and Flown, that's attorneys for the Screen Actors Guild. And if there's anybody can break a contract, they can do it. I says, I'll just notify them. We'll set this thing up so I can go ahead and come to an agreement to publish the information, the extraterrestrials, and what you have to go. Sounds like a good picture to me. You know, I come back and I walked in the office with Dern, and I tell him, I said, this is what I want you to do. And he, first of all, he looks at me like I'm a total nut. I'm making a deal with extraterrestrials. There's no written contract. You know what I told the ETs? You got my word, and if my word's no good, nothing is. All this papers are just the mechanics for the attorneys, at any rate. So anyway, Dern says, I'll take care of it. So a month later, Dern calls me on the office and he says, come on over. He says, we got it all taken care of. Hold 1 second. We got to change the tape.
Okay.
We had 2 tapes going on. It's a 2 tape. By the way, we're having this video as well as audio tape. Okay. So anyway, I goes back up to Dern's office, and we're sitting here talking. He says, I've got it all taken care of. I want you to fly Billy Meyer over here to the United States. We're going to have a hearing in front of the judge, which would be a normal thing to do. And we'll get rid of the contract that he has with him, and you can go on with his quote, this BS deal that you have with extraterrestrials. I said, fine. So from his office, decided to expedite this thing. I called Billy on the phone. And I said, Billy, I want you to fly over here right now. And we're going to set this thing up. I'll send you the ticket. And he says, George, remember I showed you pictures that I had taken of San Francisco totally destroyed on an earthquake? I saw them. He says, I don't know when the event's going to occur. I know it's going to happen. And he says, I'm safe here. I have 3 children. He says, you're going to have to find another way. And my response back to him, he says, I guess the extraterrestrials are going to have to find another way. So when we left Beverly Hills, I had a little Mercedes, little 450 SLs at that time, little 2-seater convertibles. I'm going down the road, and they had one of their beam ships, and I'm going to show you some neat pictures right now. They had one of their beam ships follow us in broad daylight. This is in Southern California, about 100 yards off. To remind me what I was going on it was a real life X-Files. I mean, you have to live through my experience. I mean, it was sitting out there, we kept pointing. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but my wife and I kept looking, and I was playing with it. Because I would take that little SL and run it up to about 120 miles an hour, and it would just, whatever. I thought it was going fast. Then I'd stop, and it just stopped. Well, I'm sitting here, you have to understand, this is I think it was on the 405 freeway. This is unbelievable. We're just playing this thing. Anyway, this lasted for probably half an hour going down the road. Anyway, after that little escapade, I got involved with some other stuff, and the extraterrestrials we didn't do anything for a while. What I want to show you now is what I had found out. I was so involved with the Billy Meyer story, I said there had to be more truth out there than that. The gentleman that brought Lee together was named Colonel Wendell Stevens. I went down and talked to Colonel Stevens, and he said, look, there's all over the planet. And I said, look, I don't have anything better to do. Let me go down and be a bird dog. I want to go find out for myself. I mean, I got the money to do this. Let's happen. So I ends up in Spain. I was over there with Dr. Antonio Rivera, who's in contact with a group from the planet Umo, called Umites. You heard of those? They look just like us, no vocal cords. They communicate totally telepathically. And they were sharing some technology to cure cancer. They're my buddies. Also, Wendell gave me another job. This is a group of extraterrestrials that are plants. They look just like us, but they're plants. They were seeing if they could live with their chlorophyll in their system. They were seeing if they could live with this symbiotically because of our oxygen content being reduced on the planet. By the way, it's about 14%, I understand. And we get down about 12, we're about gone. That's how close it's coming down to. Well, the group of extraterrestrials in South America, they were sharing the information about cures for cancer. Of course, I was running around with a bunch of people working on the Royal Rife material. Are you all familiar with Rife technology? Yeah. This is using frequency medicine and everything. I've gone a lot, spent a lot of money on that, so I'm really involved with a couple other people now on research. Anyway, these people down there had gave a salve to the mother of this child. And they put the salve on the palm of their hands. You know how your palm gets warmed up? It was absorbed into the skin. And a couple days later, a scab formed out. You pull the scab off, cancer was all gone. Wouldn't you like to get a sample of that salve? Guess what? I did. I flew a sample of that salve to Chemitox Laboratories in Boulder, Colorado, and for the next 3 days, we did a spectrographic analysis on it. At that time, I was in contact with Dr. Alan Hynek. Remember that guy? Supposedly a government liaison for the extraterrestrial experience. Found out he was CIA. Anyway, I flew down the spectrographic analysis. I still have a copy, by the way. And just from a chemical standpoint, I kept looking at everything. We have a no match, because it's all vibration and things that they've done. So I do have the analysis, but I couldn't do anything with it at that time. Since then, I found out all kinds of things about cures for everything. We can cure everything on this planet, but you don't make money curing things. You only make money treating them. Isn't that right? So at this minute, because what I'm going to do is show you the slide presentation, and I think then we'll see what the time is. Hold on. I got to light it up. Obviously, that's the title of my lecture. The Global 2000 report that I was telling you, this is just kind of a summary. I'll review some of these things at this minute. Calls for planned annihilation of 83%, to wars, starvation, epidemic, disease, environmental sabotage. Environmental sabotage means about all the electronic frequencies that they're doing to us right now. You guys are all being, as you probably know, being bombarded by all kinds of rays. One of the problems with the extraterrestrials is going through this wave of frequencies. Remember, every television station is broadcasting frequencies. Every cell phone is broadcasting a frequency. All this is permeating out, and it's affecting each one of us. Dr. Coleman wrote a book. When I first got involved with this, the extraterrestrials brought me to Dr. Coleman. Dr. Coleman was former British intelligence, MI6, still is, frankly. He gets... I sit with him and we have discussion of the current situation on the world and from the British side of it. Then I talk with my CIA friends and I get further information from some FBI friends that I have. Anyway, he put together the book which lists the 300 families that control the entire planet. Now there's some copies on my table in the back if you want to look at it, or you can always order them out of my catalog. Everybody that orders one of the books will send you a current list of the Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilaterals, and Bilderbergers, so you can see the interlocking board of directors of the world leaders on how it works. Again, it's answerable to no one. I used to run around with these guys. Remember, they put people into office. As Henry Kissinger says, the absolute aphrodisiac is power. So they give you all the power. They always need a fall guy so they don't take anything for themselves. Somebody else is always set up there. Are you familiar with the Georgia Guidestones? No. Well, look them up on the internet. A guy down in Georgia put up his. And what does it say? They put it in writing. Same thing. Establish a world government, population and reproduction control. I mean, I'm concerned about that. When I was at the population center 2 days ago, we were discussing it. Did you know 65% of the people in the Middle East are under age 25? 50% of the Americans are over age 50. Just some interesting situations. By the way, that's Billy Meyer. That's the guy in Switzerland we were talking about. These pictures are 20 years old. He's a little bit different has happened. That picture won't come out. His first contact was a girl. Now, I really have to clarify this. Billy has been in contact with extraterrestrials since a child. He was in India. He was with a group over there. He's been kind of a catalyst for the ETs all the way along the line. But anyway, in this particular contact, the girl he was in contact with some Yasi. And the idea if they sent a girl home or along to meet him would be less confrontational. So he went along with that. They wouldn't let her picture to be taken because they walk among us. In fact, I did a meeting like this in California a few months ago, and some people asked me a question, remember with a question and answer deal? And one of the extraterrestrials was in the crowd, and I didn't know it, but I got a letter a couple days later to give me the answer that the people asked me, and I'll share it with you tonight. Billy's has one arm, he lost it in a bus accident. His first camera was one that was an old black and white or little color camera. Was a little less than infinity. The focus was not really great. So the first few photographs that he has, like right here, was taken. He was allowed to take friends with him. He went out to fields with the people, and he would literally beam aboard the spacecraft and be gone in front of everybody. Now that space, as we get better, this craft here is so distant. This is similar to the one I saw at Edwards Air Force Base. This is really what brought me into this game, what we're talking about. That's a different variation. There was like 5 variations of spacecraft. That one's over a little town called Wila. The French sent up a Mirage fighter, and it locked on its weapon systems to shoot it out of the sky, but the weapon system seized up. Just so you know, if you want to see all these craft moving, I have a DVD out there you guys can buy for $10. It's about an hour and a half, and you can see and listen to Billy and see all these spacecraft literally moving around trees. It's not high quality because it's second generation, but it's enough so you can see what's going on.
7 meters, or about 21 feet in diameter. Junichi, like our team, had been fascinated by the Meyer photography, yet cautious. He had investigated UFOs around the world and never before seen photographs or movie footage this detailed. It seemed too good to be true. Yet when questions arose, there was always another piece of footage to stir the sense of wonder. Close examination of this footage clearly shows the craft moving behind the large tree. When the size of the beam ship is compared to that of the tree and the farmhouse, it becomes obvious that it would be impossible to suspend it with strings. In addition, the top of this enormous tree is seen to move as the craft passes over it. This movement can be attributed to the backwash of air created by the beam ship. With a full day scheduled, we left the farmhouse early to visit more contact sites.
Quality because it's second generation, but it's enough so you can see what's going on. Now, I'll go see that craft here. This is one that's down at the bottom. In the book of Ezekiel, do you remember how Ezekiel was trying to describe a spacecraft? A wheel within a wheel? Doesn't that kind of look like a wheel within a wheel? There it is. That's exactly what I saw at Edwards. Now what they would do would take their spacecraft and put it next to a tree. See that tree right there? It does not exist. What has happened, there is a certain amount of radiation, and they're very concerned about radiation, that they kept using on this tree. So it leaked into the tree, and rather than cause a potential for you and anybody else, they changed its time. Now I don't really know what that means,